This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. And you can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee, all by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. All right, so we teased it at the beginning of the show. Right. You've got some cool stuff going on this week, right, Avram?
So, yes. So first, let me explain what it is, and then I'm going to turn around, quite literally, to another computer behind me, which is also connected, and demonstrate. So this week, NVIDIA came out with its new NVIDIA Broadcast software, which requires you to have an NVIDIA RTX capable card. Doesn't mean you have to have one of the new RTX 3080 cards. You could just have an RTX 2070, which is what I have in that machine, or 2060 or 2080. It has to be RTX, NVIDIA RTX enabled card. So what does it do? It allows you to filter out noise or backgrounds. Just the things that are an embarrassment to all of us. I consider an embarrassment prevention device, embarrassment preventionware, that where you have a problem, there's noise in your background that you don't want people to hear, or there's a messy background that you would like to do something about, you think can do better. Now, what we discovered in the pre-show is that for some reason I can't demonstrate the noise part of it. So but I can demonstrate the video part. And I will screen share from there so you can see what the interface looks like and what you ought to be able to do.
Very cool.
All right. So 1 minute.
So while Avram transitions from one computer to another, this, like he said, this is brand new. And some of the features might look semi-familiar, but what we were saying in the pre-show is that that they're doing it really well.
So, if you can hear me now,
yes,
this is a blurred background. So I'm going to open up NVIDIA's Broadcast, and I'm going to show you what the different background options are. So weird I can hear myself. I'm also going to see if I can share my screen. Can I do that? Yes. All right. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes.
It's like the Infinite Cat project. So what I have here is the NVIDIA Broadcast application. And you can see there's 3 tabs: microphone, speakers, and camera. On the microphone tab, you pick what your microphone is, which I did. And then you can choose to enable or disable noise removal and test the strength of it. What that will do is it'll remove loud noises behind you. And I tested it with a fan. I tested it with my son throwing a temper tantrum. I tested it with the Paw Patrol theme song playing behind me. And a few other things. Lawnmower. And it worked flawlessly. I mean, you can tell that the voice is a little bit cut off. Like the fullness of it isn't there. But it's really good. The other thing that's really good about it is it filters out typing noise. So if you're in a meeting and you don't want the boss to know you're multitasking, just enable it. You can also do it on the incoming end with the speakers option. So if someone is typing that you're talking to, you can filter them out. Finally, and most importantly, we have the camera. So here you can see a little preview of it with a blurred background. So if I turn the background blur off, you can see that the area behind me is totally sharp. But if I turn it on and I change the string, it's sharper or blurrier. The other things you can choose are background replacement. And what that does is you can pick a picture or even a video, and you can have yourself superimposed on it. So maybe this will look better if I stop screen sharing. So now you can see that there's this fake background behind me.
Wow, that's
another cool thing.
That's possibly the best edge detection that I've seen on a system like this. Because obviously this is far from the first of its kind, but that's the best edge detection I've seen on one of these. It's getting like the individual folds of your shirt at your elbow, on the edges, which is really impressive.
It usually shows your chair too.
Yeah.
And they made it to do that on purpose.
Yeah, that makes sense because
also,
without
there's another person,
without the chair, the
like
context
my son was
is
standing
weird.
Here,
uh-huh.
They would be shown.
Okay, how many people is it able to track? Do you know?
Well, I tried it with 3.
Okay, that's pretty impressive.
I had my daughter on my lap and my son standing next to me, and they were not erased.
Nice.
But if I take an object and I'm holding it in my hand, it will get erased. So here I'm holding a Raspberry Pi, and it just disappeared. Did you see that?
I loved that on one side it worked fine, and then you spun it around, it just vanished, like your David Copperfield.
Yeah, exactly. It's worked. So if you were trying to show someone your phone, you'd have a problem.
Gotcha.
The other thing you can do is what's called background removal. And what that will do is, if you're using something like OBS, where you can have different layers, you could have yourself on top of a game.
Yeah, so that gives you the ability to do chroma key, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a green screen. I can't do it without doing this in OBS, which I'm not doing right now. But that's how you would do it. There's one more option on here that is a little different. It's auto frame. So what that does is it'll follow my head. See?
And it's got you framed well too.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
It's basically cropping.
Yeah.
If I zoom
the same or similar feature
out enough, it may not be able to do it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the whole
shifting a little bit, a little bit, but not enough.
Well, what this really makes me wish is that someone would make a camera on a pan and tilt that would actually do it.
That would be able to respond to the request from the app. That's really clever, actually.
Right? I mean, that would be really cool. It's if you could have it mechanical. But nobody makes such a camera. So it doesn't really matter.
Well, there are cameras. Yeah, we interviewed a company at CES last year. They would just have to be able to respond to this. It has its own version of this built in, is how it works, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I'd love to see that. So that's kind of a quick overview. I'm going to switch back to something that doesn't echo.
All right. Well, That's a pretty that's a pretty cool setup there.
It was a long trip, but I made it.
Success. Yeah.
Anyway, it
that's
was
pretty
weird
cool,
hearing
Avram.
myself through the thing.
I was so glad that I was able to go full screen on myself, because at the very beginning I was laughing so hard, because we've all done it. Everybody who's ever been in that position has done it, where your vocal cadence changes because you're responding to yourself in your headphones on a delay, and so you pause on yourself in the middle of sentences.
Yeah, it's just weird to hear myself. I can't bear to hear myself normally as it is. One thing I will tell you that it was not able to do, which makes some sense, is the noise filtered. I played audio of myself in the background, and it didn't filter out the background noise of a recording of me in the background. Now, I don't know if that's because it was me or because it was a human voice at normal
Speaking volume
frequency. Yeah, normal speaking volume. Because I had basically took an episode of a show that I was on, and I just played it back in the background, and you couldn't really hear it well enough to tell much, but it didn't filter that noise out.
That was a clever way to test that.
Every other noise I threw it at, it filtered out.
That was a really clever way to test that. There's plenty of examples of your voice out in the wild. That was a clever solution to that test.
Well, what I was trying to test there, believe it or not, was I was trying to test whether a TV, if you had a TV or someone watching a video in the background, whether that would be filtered. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to record something that I didn't have the copyright to. Mm-hmm. Sure. So I picked an episode of the PiCast, which some folks know is the Tuesday show that I do about Raspberry Pi, and I played that on this computer while trying it on that recording on that computer, and it was, you could subtly hear it in the background. Whereas other things, and listen, if folks want to actually see and hear the audio demos for themselves, I have them online. So if you go to tomshardware.com and you look at my article about NVIDIA Broadcast, or you go straight to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/tomshardware, I have 5 different demos of the audio filtering. I have one with my son doing a temper tantrum. I made him do the temper tantrum, so I mean, he agreed to do the temper tantrum. It wasn't a spontaneous temper tantrum, so it wasn't as loud as it could have been. But he also was like using a motorized robot during the temper tantrum, so you had 2 different kinds of noise. However, I really do recommend to folks that they get a really good quality microphone, like this Bcaster I have over here, and try to use that to filter out noise rather than using NVIDIA Broadcast if you can possibly help it, because it does sort of cut the highs off of your voice. So it's perfectly fine, but I felt like the voice wasn't quite as full as it is with the noise canceling, with the noise filtering off. I think that's just inevitable. I think it just cuts things above a certain frequency off.
Yeah, that's probably the case. For proper noise cancellation, you've got to have 2 mics with disparate directioning to be able to pull it off, which is why your mic, this mic, are able to do it, because there's a second pickup in here for noise cancellation, which obviously when you're dealing with software, you don't have that capability. You only have the input that you have. So yeah, that makes sense that it would try and do some trimming, some audio compression, but that's always unfortunate because you always lose highs that way.
But if you're on a call with your boss, it is priceless. Also, I don't know if I don't think even a really good quality mic like this will avoid. Let's see. You heard that? Did you hear me typing?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so right, so that's not going to go away.
When we were doing the pre-show, I heard you doing it on the other keyboard.
Right. So every keyboard here is clicky. That's how I go here.
Me too, except for the one under
here. But you know, that it will get, you won't hear the keyboard at all.
That's cool.
It is absolutely perfect. It will cut off. It will not hear the keyboard at all. So for that alone, for that scenario alone, even having a great microphone won't stop it. So having NVIDIA Broadcast, which is a free download, I should say, totally free, but you have to have a machine, a computer that has an NVIDIA RTX card in it.
Very cool. And obviously, I know you said you've got videos. I know you've got to have an article as well, right?
Yes, we have an article about it, and we have videos in the article, and we also have them on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/TomsHardware.
Very cool. Well, I'm really impressed with this software. If I end up upgrading my video card upstairs in the office, I might install it there too for my daily morning calls, because we've got one person who has a turtle tank right next to their computer, and so there's this weird audio dripping sound, and somebody has a clicky keyboard who likes to type when other people are talking. So it would be nice to be able to cancel them out.
Yes. I mentioned this, but just to remind folks, you can filter out incoming noise.
That's so cool.
So, and if you were the broadcaster like Scott is now, you could filter out incoming noise from me before broadcasting it out. But if you were just on a Zoom call, let's say, you could filter out those noises.
Boy, it'd be pretty cool to figure out how to get the routing on this computer right for that, for some of our guests. Not you. You've got good on-air computer etiquette, but not all of the guests that we've had on Launchpad have had that same etiquette. So it would be interesting to figure out the routing on here on how that might work.
It's tough. You can't make up for, you can only do so much to make up for, for people who have poor etiquette. I was remembering the other day that right after my father died in May, we had like online, visitation or whatever, and we had a big Zoom call, and one woman was like eating soup in the middle of it, and everyone could hear her right in front of
which is weird on its own.
Yes, right. Like you would think, like, could you not do that during the
it's like
during the
condolence
visit.
You know what it is we're doing, right? It's like where you are, right?
It's so I don't know. You got to.
People are interesting.
Maybe someday in the future, AI will. Technically speaking, shouldn't this stuff be built into the audio software and happening in the cloud? Like, shouldn't this be built into Google Meet and Zoom and Vimeo and all the things and happen in the cloud? I don't know.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. And now that NVIDIA has got software for it, they might be working on server versions of it too. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they're not the first to think of such a thing.
I can't imagine.
Hey, it's pretty cool.
For sure. Well, as always, Avram, I appreciate you bringing this to us, because I don't currently have an RTX card that I can play with it on. So this is a selling point for upgrading the Office machine, as I have plenty of reasons, just like we mentioned, to try it out. So thank you for showing it off, and for those who haven't heard the audio stuff in action, definitely go check it out over on the website, because it is pretty cool. And until next week, I look forward to finding out what we're going to talk about.